Good morning. Today is Thursday, April 30th, 2020. It is the last day of April. And on this day in history, a little thing called the World Wide Web, also known as WWW, was launched to the public in the year 1993. Think about where you see WWW, and it's called the World Wide Web. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the internet. The World Wide Web is the internet. So on this day in 1993, the internet was launched to the public. It didn't look the way it looks now, but it was the start of something that has become a very helpful tool. So on this day in history in 1993, the World Wide Web was launched to the public. Our word part of the day is a root. So the root word is something that think about the root of a tree, how that's where everything else comes off of the roots. The trunk comes off of the roots, and then eventually the leaves come off of the roots. So the root is like the main part of the word. So this is actually a Greek root, so it comes from Greece and the Greek language, and it is graph, G-R-A-P-H, graph, which is actually its own word standing alone. The meaning of the root graph is write. So, for example, an autograph is when you write your name. I'm sorry, I can't see this. A biography is when you write about your life. Or a paragraph, we learned para. My kids learned it in class, one of the first things that we learned. Para means alongside, so it's when you write alongside something. So a paragraph is writing alongside or writing in a certain format. So that is our word part of the day, graph. See if you can think of other words that have graph in them as their root. Our question of the day is, I lost it. Our question of the day is, what is your favorite song and why? You have to try to pick one. Jackson, you have to try to pick one. Jackson always asks if he can do two. Try to pick one. What is your favorite song and why? Maybe it's your favorite song this week if you really like music and you listen to a new song all the time. Maybe it's your favorite song of all time that you've ever heard so far in your life. But what is your favorite song and explain why? Remember, it's important to back up your claim with reasons and examples. My favorite song, I'll pull it up for you, is by an artist named Billy Joel. And the song is called Vienna. And I just think it's a really good song. I've always liked it. It's nice. It's nice to listen to in the car. It's nice to listen to if I'm just walking. It's a good song. It's my favorite song. It has a really nice message. And I like the piano music in the background. So what's your favorite song and why? And maybe you can listen to Vienna by Billy Joel and see why I like it so much. Our wonder precept of the day is, it is a Latin proverb. Proverb is something that's frequently said, and it's usually meant, pro is something that's positive or something that's good. So it's something that's said in order to make people feel good. So it's a Latin proverb. It says, "To each his own is beautiful. To each his own is beautiful." Many times when we see he or his, it doesn't mean just boys. It means everyone, which doesn't seem fair, but that's what it means. So, to each his own is beautiful. Interpret that as you may. I interpret it as, to each individual person, we see beauty in our own ways. So what I think is beautiful and what I find beautiful, someone else might not find beautiful. For example, the song Vienna by Billy Joel, I find it beautiful, but someone else might not. But to each person, they find their own beauty, I suppose. I guess. My mindful moment or mindful strategy, I'm going to link on my channel. If you go to like about and then you go to the tabs, I'm pretty sure there's a tab called channels. I'm going to add it to mine. It's called Cosmic Kids Yoga. Yoga is something, if you don't like those videos, some of them might seem a little juvenile. Juvenile means like young. They might seem a little too young for you. But yoga is really good. Stretching is very important for your body. It keeps you strong. It keeps you able to do things. Super important, especially as you get older. So yoga is a great way to stretch and to work your muscles and make you stronger. So if you haven't done yoga before, you can check out the Cosmic Kids Yoga that I linked in my channel. Or you can just try to do some stretching. Think about how maybe you stretch in PE class, or maybe you stretch before sports practice. You can do hamstring stretches, stuff like that. I'll link some other stretching channels on my YouTube as well. So I'm challenging you today to try out some yoga, okay? Do your stretching and give it a try. Next. I did that. Cool. So Mrs. Connor this week has us working with poetry, and I had some people say, oh, like, what type of poem? What is poetry? How do I know if I'm writing a poem? So I'm going to, again, bring up my favorite poetry book ever. It's called A Pizza the Size of the Sun. I actually got it from my parents for Christmas when I was in, I don't know, how old was I in 2004? 3rd grade? 2nd grade? I don't know. But my 2nd grade teacher used to read this to us every day, and we actually all memorized one of the poems, and we would say it together as a class, and it was super fun. So poetry depends. Sometimes poetry can sound and look like lots of different things. Sometimes every single line rhymes. Sometimes every 2 or 3 lines rhyme. Sometimes they just have lots of figurative language in them, or they repeat a phrase. So I'm going to read you some from Jack Perletsky's A Pizza the Size of the Sun, and I want you to think, what types of figurative language am I hearing? Usually lots of similes and metaphors or onomatopoeias, which are the sound words like boom, crash. His poems often have a lot of repetition, and usually every other line, so if you have line A, line B, and then line A and line B, the A's rhyme and the B's rhyme. And so I'm going to read you the first one called A Pizza the Size of the Sun. I'm making a pizza the size of the sun, a pizza that's sure to weigh more than a ton, a pizza too massive to pick up and toss, a pizza resplendent with oceans of sauce. I'm topping my pizza with mountains of cheese, with acres of peppers, pimentos, and peas, with mushrooms, tomatoes, and sausage galore, with every last olive they had at the store. My pizza is sure to be one of a kind. My pizza will leave other pizzas behind. My pizza will be a delectable treat that all who love pizza are welcome to eat. The oven is hot. I believe it will take 1.5 years for my pizza to bake. I can hardly wait till my pizza is done, my wonderful pizza the size of the sun. So in here, there's lots of figurative language where there's a hyperbole. My pizza is sure to weigh more than a ton. That's an exaggeration. Ton is a lot. It's at oceans of sauce. It's not literally oceans of sauce. That's figurative language. Mountains of cheese, acres of peppers. He uses repetition. He says, my pizza, my pizza, my pizza. That's repetition. He also has every other line. So we have making a pizza the size of the sun. The next line rhymes with sun, which is ton. After that, pizza too massive to pick up and toss. The next line rhymes with sauce, toss and sauce. So he has each line, one line after the other, rhyme, and then the next 2 lines rhyme, and so on. All right, I'm going to read you a few more, just because there's lots of different ways to write poetry. This poem looks like this. So we have the different lines, and then it's broken up into stanzas, which are paragraphs in poetry. I'm going to pull up one that looks way different, but it's one of my favorites. This poem is called I Was Walking in a Circle, and it's written in a circle. So to read it, I have it memorized because this is one of the ones we read in 2nd grade. But to read it, you actually turn it. And because it's a circle, it goes on and on forever and ever. So this is a poem, and this is what it looks like. So poetry really varies. I'm going to read it to you. I was walking, so it goes this way. I was walking in a circle when I spied a piece of paper covered with a pretty picture colored yellow, green, and red. As I picked it up, I noticed that it also had some writing, and I knew that I should read it, and this is what the writing said. I was walking in a circle when I spied a piece of paper covered with a pretty picture colored yellow, green, and red. As I picked it up, I noticed that it also had some writing, and I knew that I should read it. This is what the writing said. It goes on and on and on and on and on. And then I'll read you the one that we had to memorize in 2nd grade. It's a different one. I thought I had it dog-eared. Okay, this poem uses repetition, and it's called I Often Repeat Myself. So it's about repeating, and it uses the figurative language of repetition. All right, here we go. I often repeat myself. I often repeat. I don't know why. I simply know that I am inclined to say a lot, this way. I often repeat myself. I often repeat. I often repeat myself. I often repeat. My mom gets mad. It irritates my dad. It drives them up a tree. That's what they tell me. I often repeat myself. I often repeat. I often repeat myself. I often repeat. It gets me in a jam, but that's the way I am. In fact, I think it's neat. To repeat. I often repeat myself. I often repeat. You'll notice that often poetry has a certain cadence. The cadence is like the flow of the lines. So sometimes it can actually sound like a song, the way that you read the lines. So those are just some different types of poetry. Sometimes they look different. Sometimes every line rhymes. Sometimes every other line rhymes. So poetry really varies. There's lots of different things you can do with it. So give it a try. And if you aren't sure of words that rhyme, something that I do, which sounds a little silly, but say I'm trying to rhyme something with the word bee. I could say, okay, bee, 3, tree, me, lee, free, tea. I just do that until I find a word that matches. Whatever works for you. And we're not going to do story cubes today because this has already been pretty long. So, I'm sorry, my cat's being a weirdo. Until next time, it's Miss G. See you soon.